In this demo, we'll walk through creating an Okta Sign-In Policy, and then we'll invoke that MFA policy on a particular end user. In this environment, I have a few users that I'll leverage for the purposes of demonstration. The first of which is the Sally Field user account. Sally Field is a super administrator in the Okta ICE company, and also the user account that I'm currently logged into today. The second is the Tom Jones account, who in this hypothetical is a sales representative, who therefore has sensitive access to customer data through platforms like Salesforce, Tableau, and others. Now, Sally Field, as the resident super administrator, needs to ensure that proper security controls are set in place for folks like Tom Jones, who has that elevated privilege within those downstream applications. The first thing that you'll notice is that I've created a sales group and then associated that group with the Tom Jones account. Later on in this demonstration, we'll go and create a sign-on policy and map it to the sales group so that other users that have similar privilege to Tom Jones have the same MFA policy applied to them. The next thing that we'll do is go to the security multi-factor section and take a look at the factor types available. Now you'll notice here that I've already activated the Okta Verify factor type and enabled the push notification. Okta supports a wide variety of multi-factor types, many of which you currently don't see here, things like WebAuthn, third-party MFA, etc. For the purposes of this particular demonstration, we've scoped down the tailored list and we'll use Okta Verify as the factor type. The next thing that we'll do is go to the security authentication section and then click on the sign on section. This is where all of our sign-in policy and subsequent rules will live. You can have multiple sign-in policies and map them to either a single group or a collection of groups. And then all of the rules associated with that sign-in policy will be applied to all of the groups indicated. Let's go ahead and create a new sign-in policy and apply it to that sales group. We'll click on this button here and we'll call this policy sales policy. We're not too creative today. Now, optionally, you can create a description to make it easier for other admins to, from a high-level perspective, see what these policies are doing. We'll skip that for now, and we'll assign it to a group. Now, in this case, we're assigning it to that sales group that I had showed you earlier. So I'll just start typing sales, and you'll notice here that in the dropdown, our group is represented. I'll click on the group, and I'll click Create Policy and Add Rule. The next thing we'll do is add a default rule. We'll call this rule MFA for sales reps. Again, not too creative, but to the point. Now, in the if and then section here, if your organization or Okta tenant has licenses with adaptive MFA or adaptive SSO, you'll see an expanded list of features that you can apply a contextual access policy. Again, we'll keep this simple and we'll state that any sales rep that authenticates using Okta should have MFA applied to that experience every time. So we're going to prompt for factor with this checkbox, and we're going to switch this per session to every time. And then lastly, something to consider is that we'll need to ensure that the session lifetime that is associated with this access event is tailored for the specific risk posture of that event. In this case, we'll leave it as a default, but you could think of this as if somebody comes in from a different network context, either in or outside of a particular network, or with the expanded set of contextual access policies from a particular device state or a behavior associated, you might want to issue a shorter lived Okta session lifetime. Again, let's leave it at 2 hours and click Create Rule. Now that we have an MFA rule in place for the sales policy, which is associated with the sales group, we know that an MFA policy will be applied anytime that a member of that sales group logs in. So let's go ahead to the other screen and log in as Tom Jones, that sales rep, to see what that experience looks like. I have my trusty phone ready to go with the Okta Verify app installed. So the next thing that I'll do is sign in as Tom Jones. And you'll notice here, because Tom Jones is already enrolled in that Okta Verify factor, the next thing that happens is Okta requires him to go through a push notification. So I'll click on Send Push, and immediately now I have a push notification on my iPhone here. I'll click Yes, this is me on my phone, and then Okta will take care of the rest. Next, you'll see me successfully log in and achieve a state where I could then see my Salesforce, Tableau, ServiceNow, any other applications that this user needs to have in order to do their day-to-day job. And that is how you create a sign-on policy, apply MFA conditions to that policy, and experience the MFA flow with an end user. Have a great day.